To me, I think what's extraordinary about Revolutionary Road is that it, even though it was written in the 50s, and even though on one level it's a portrait of an era, a portrait of a community, it is also a universal story. And as time has progressed, and as the genre of suburban fiction has grown and grown and grown, this, which is the grandfather of all suburban novels, has become more and more a universal tale about a marriage, about a man and a woman, and less a satire or an observation of suburbia in the 50s. And I think what I love about it now is that it has the qualities of all great tragic mythic love stories, which is that you ultimately, however terrible however terrible the behaviour is between the two central characters, however much cruelty, however much manipulation, that you somehow retain they retain your sympathies, and you care about them enough to want them to succeed. And when they don't, it is tragic. A good tragedy makes you glad to be alive when you leave. It's not a depressing experience. It's sad, sure, and it's a serious film. It's a cautionary tale. But at the end of the day, it's also uplifting because it shows you how to avoid these pitfalls, how to somehow live and fulfill your dreams, which is what April wants, and not to pretend they don't exist. Not to, if you wake up one morning and you're 40 years old and you're not living the life you want and you don't have the family you want, or you're not in the house that you want, or whatever it is, to act and to break free and to try to regain the dreams of your youth and the dreams that you had when you were 18 years old, when everything was possible. And what makes her a heroine, I think, as a character, is that she's willing to sacrifice everything to try and find that feeling again. At the end of the day, the thing that most connected for me about the book was Frank and April, the two characters, because the book is three things. It's a portrait of a community, it's a portrait of an era, which is the 50s, but it's also this portrait of a marriage. And when I first heard about the project, I thought, well, I've made a suburban movie before, I made American Beauty. How can I make another movie about the suburbs? But when I read the book and studied it in detail, I realized that ultimately it's not about the suburbs at all. It's about a relationship, and it has this wonderful movement as a movie, I think, from this huge canvas of New York in the 50s and the 40s, and the city and the commuters and the crowded streets, and even the streets of the suburbs, and gradually the canvas, the layers of the external world fall away, and the characters lessen one by one until it really is just a man and a woman alone in a room, literally. The thing about moving to Paris is you could easily look at the book and the film and think, oh, it's about a woman who wants to go to Paris, and when her husband doesn't want to go, she goes mad. But of course it's much more than that. Paris, for her, represents so much more than just moving. It's the first dream she ever had of a different life, the life she wanted to lead. Even she admits halfway through the movie that it didn't have to be Paris. What it represented was a new life, a different life, and a chance to start again. And I think that, as such, it's a kind of metaphor for, we all have our Paris, we all have that thing that we held on to as young people. That was our dream, and it's her dream, and in a sense she's a heroine because she's the one person in a movie filled with people who are longing for something, longing for escape. She's the one person who takes a stand, and her stand is that she needs to escape, and she needs to find her way back to who she was, when she first married Frank, and he doesn't want it. He's happy with who he is on some level, and he's not wrong. And one of the things that appealed to me about the book is that they're both right and they're both wrong, and they're both capable of great love and great cruelty, and neither of them are 100% wrong or 100% right. And those shades of grey that exist in life exist in this book, which I think is a great, profound book, and I hope that Yates would have been proud of the movie that we've made out of it, but it's all down to him in the end. John Givings is kind of a Greek chorus. He's kind of the man who comes in and speaks the truth. It's the old trick of using a mad person to say the sanest things, and it's something that happens in literature a lot. He completely understood the character. He looks exactly as described by Richard Yates, and even down to the way he wears his clothes. It's very period feeling. You know, the way he looks somehow looks perfectly 1950s. It's very difficult to explain why, but there are some people who can carry it off and some people who can't. I hope they identified with both characters, but they seesaw between the two, because I know that even when I watch it, I think, well, she's obviously in the right, but then you hear him talk and you think, no, he is, you know, and that's of course what makes it interesting. If it was one-sided, then the battle would not be any fun. You know, the great boxing matches are between two equally matched partners. You know, the French have a great phrase about relationships. They say, you know, the best partners carry equal-sized clubs. You know, and that's what's interesting about here. These two is that they both have the moral high ground at times. They both have the emotional. They're both in the right, and then sometimes they're both in the wrong. Justin Hayther's a novelist in his own right, and a very good one, actually, the screenwriter, and he has an absolute respect for Richard Yates's work. But at the same time, he was with us in rehearsals. We rehearsed a lot, and on set every day I wanted him to be there. And as a consequence, he kind of moulded the film around what the actors were giving a little bit more than is normal, and I encouraged him to do that. Yates is deceptive, because when you read the book you think, well, this is just, all you have to do is take it off the page and it's perfect, you know. But a lot of the dialogue scenes are very much too long, and a lot of these scenes that you remember as being dialogue scenes actually have no dialogue in them at all. So he actually gave an enormous amount of thought and skill to the rendering of this as a movie, and I think he did it really well, very subtly. To me, it's a story about men and women, and anyone who's ever been in a relationship, anyone who's ever been in a good or a bad relationship, or feared for their sanity within that, or woken up one day and wondered who they were really married to. And even those of us who are lucky enough to be in happy relationships sometimes look at our partners and think, who are you? You know, I think that this is the movie for them.